Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be doing a little review of the Knuckles TV show that just released on Paramount Plus. And this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video because on top of it just being a show review, this is also my first time ever watching anything on Paramount Plus. And I kind of want to critique the streaming service as well because I have viewed so many different streaming services. Like, obviously I've done all the big ones like Hulu, Disney, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, stuff like that. I've watched all of those. And then I've also watched like Freevee, and I've watched like Peacock, and some of the Tubi TV. And this might be like one of the worst experiences I've had on any streaming service platform ever. So I kind of want to critique that as well while I'm talking about the show. But yeah. Some of you guys might not have known that this show is coming out. I personally was kind of excited about it when it first got released because I'm a huge fan of Idris Elba. I think Idris Elba deserves a lot more time to shine in Hollywood, and the fact that he was going to have his entire TV show to be, Knuckles and be the cool little action star he is, I was really excited about it. I was really looking forward to it, and I'm going to be totally honest, all of this stuff with Idris Elba is by far the best part of the show. But that being said, some of you guys are going to hear that and be like, yeah, Knuckles is the best part of the Knuckles show. That checks out. He is not in the show nearly as much as you would think a title character would be in their own show. So let's dive into this review, shall we? Alrighty, so I'm going to issue a spoiler warning, but I also am just going to go ahead and say this right now. I don't know enough about the characters or the character names or the lore of Sonic to really know if anything is specifically a spoiler, and I'm not going to say any of the character names aside from, the two main characters, so I don't think I actually will be spoiling anything, but just to be on the safe side, go watch the show. It's only 3 hours worth of content. This show was not great. I will say this one thing. I have not seen either of the two Sonic movies, which some of you guys are probably going to be like, you probably should have watched those before watching this show. And to that I say, you might be right. They were making some references to the second Sonic movie, and I had no idea what was going on. But other than that, for the most part, you can pick up this show and for the most part get everything that's going on in it. They actually do a really good job in the first episode of kind of recapping some of the events of the last movie and helping us understand why Knuckles is where he is and why he's in the conundrum that he's in. And I think that the show starts off incredibly strong. I think that the first two episodes are pretty solid. Does an interesting job showcasing Knuckles with his dilemma of he's stuck on Earth and he really wants to try to fit in on Earth. He wants to try to learn more about Earth customs and figure out Sonic's on Earth and he's really comfortable being on Earth and he's kind of living a nice life. And I think that the show starts off kind of portraying that this show is going to be about Knuckles trying to find his place in the world, and that ends up not being it at all. And for the most part, it's really weird because the first two episodes set the groundwork for, in my opinion, a much more interesting show. It was very heavily, this is Knuckles, this is his deal. It featured Idris Elba's character a lot. There was a lot of really good action sequences. We were starting to have the general idea of the fact that he's just a stone cold person. He takes everything 100% seriously, 100% literal. He's very straight and to the point, and he's a warrior, and he always is prepared for the next mission, prepared for the next battle. He's always trying to fight. And I think that the fact that this show is kind of a fun little road trip show during a time where there is no fight for him to be fighting right now was an interesting concept, and I thought that aspect of it was going to be really cool, and we were going to slowly learn a little bit more about this character. And I really like the fact that they paired him up with a character, Wade Whipples. And that character kind of feels like an outcast, kind of feels like somebody who also needs to find his place in the world. And it seems like they were going to be setting up this kind of dynamic where these two characters learn a little bit about themselves, learn a little bit from each other, where Wade Whipples will learn, how to be a more confident version of himself. He'll learn to be a warrior, quote unquote, and he'll learn to stand up for himself and be more confident because that's something Knuckles can teach him. And then on top of that, Wade Whipples would show him here's how to be a human, here's some of the really important things about Earth, and if you're going to be living here, this is some stuff you need to know, showing him, here's some fun things that we do on Earth, him showing him the bowling alley and stuff like that, him trying to introduce him to music and Knuckles not really being into it. That stuff for me worked really well. I loved the first two episodes. I thought that they were really great. They set the bar relatively high for what I was expecting the entire show to be, and I think that it drops off in quality pretty quickly after the second episode. I think that after the second episode, some of the only things that I think stay on par as well is the comedy. For the most part, it's very like childish humor. I do think the show is definitely designed for kids, so like the humor is going to be a little more cartoonish and it's going to be a little more goofy and silly, but if it works for you, it'll work well and it'll be fun and entertaining to watch. And then on top of that, the action is also pretty great throughout the last couple of episodes, but we lose a lot of like the interesting like story dynamics. We lose a lot of like the character like having arcs or development. Like for the most part, Knuckles doesn't have any character growth after the second episode. And Wade Wiggle, they try to do a lot of interesting stuff with his character to try to like showcase that, you know, he has like this weird stuff going on with his family and he really just wants to show his like family that he can be, you know, a better version of himself. They do some like fun little twists with like his family dynamic and how everything with them works. And then, you know, he does his little bowling tournament and it turns out that one of the people he's going against, his arch rival, is like this secret character who is like a really interesting reveal. And it's like, it's fun, but considering we're going to watch the show because it's a Knuckles show, it felt odd and it felt really out of place. I think that overall, this show felt like the first two episodes, they were like, okay, we have a good budget. We're going to do all these interesting stuff. We're going to have these cool fight sequences with Knuckles. This is going to be a great story about Knuckles. And then somewhere along the lines, after they filmed the first couple of episodes, they realized, oh crap, we don't have the budget to do this the entire rest of the show. So they really kind of like turned it over to being a Wade Wiggle show halfway through it. And it was not great. I'm going to be totally honest. It felt very like out of place and it didn't feel like the same story we watched in the first two episodes, in my opinion. So overall, wasn't a huge fan of that. And I overall just think that this like story could have been like significantly better. But that being said, I kind of want to talk about the stuff that worked in this show and something that I feel like Paramount should have done instead. Okay, so as I had mentioned earlier, this show is only about like 3 hours worth of content. It is 6 30-minute long episodes. Paramount Plus is really annoying with their like ad breaks. Earlier I mentioned that this was like one of the worst like streaming services that I've ever seen. And the reason I say that is none of these episodes like actually had like solid like pauses for commercial breaks. And on top of that, I don't think any of them did like some streaming services, if they have an ad break in the middle of a showing, they'll be like commercial starts in 3, 2, 1 or whatever, and then it starts. So every single time the commercial started playing, it just like came out of nowhere. And then one of the really annoying things is like it had an ad break like a minute before the episode would end. So like we're literally like, we just need to watch one last scene and then it'll be like, here's an ad break, and then it would start the next episode with an ad break, and that was driving me insane. But that being said, the runtime of this show was about 3 hours, give or take. I think it was probably about like 3 hours and maybe like 15 minutes after all the like extra like 2 or 3 minutes that's added on to the end of each episode. And I feel like had they condensed this story, made it maybe about like a 2 hour long movie, maybe even just like an hour and a half long movie, and made it particularly just about the Knuckles stuff, and it showcased some of his backstory, and it showed us like the really cool fight sequence that they did like a weird musical number to show us instead of like actually showcasing this like cool thing that he did in the past. That would have been really cool. For one, I think that we would have been able to have Knuckles in the show a little bit more. I feel like part of the reason why he kind of disappears a little bit during episodes 4 and 5 is they don't have the budget to keep up that CGI the entire time. And I will say this, the CGI the entire length of the show looks incredible. But I really wish they somehow reworked this into being like a 2 hour long little Paramount Plus original movie, kind of like the Sonic movie 2.5 or whatever. So you watch Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and then you watch this, and then Sonic 3 whenever it comes out, it would have some of the stuff like that I think they were trying to set up with Shadow in this. But overall, I feel like the production value and the episodes are so like, they don't mesh well. Like you're watching the first 2 episodes and it's like really, really good, really, really good, really good, really good, and then it drops off. And then there'll be like every single time a fight sequence comes back, it's back up, and then it goes down, and then it's back up, and then it goes down. And it's just the consistency of the quality is not great. And I think that if you condensed it, it probably would have solved a lot of those problems. We would have been able to get rid of some of the scenes that didn't really work as well for me. We wouldn't have had to dive as deep into the character of Wade Whipples, because I know some people out there are probably like, yeah, this was fun, this was really great. That is a character that significantly works better as a side character, and I feel like they probably were doing something similar to like Andor was really successful, and it was a show about a character who had like maybe about like 10 minutes of screen time in the movie that he was introduced in or something like that. So they're like, okay, yeah, let's do that with this Wade Whipples character. He was entertaining. Some people liked him. Let's make him a main character in some show now. And it did not work, and it did not pay off. But yeah, that being said, that was pretty much everything I wanted to say in this video. I wasn't a huge fan of this show. I definitely would not necessarily recommend going out and checking it out. But that being said, if you have Paramount Plus and you're just looking for something to throw on in the background, I think that it is a good show for like quick laughs, and like I said, the action sequences and everything looked pretty great. But overall, it's not that entertaining in my opinion. If I had to give it a rating, I probably would give it like a 61 out of 100. Like, it's really not that bad, but there's just a lot of stuff that did not work for me. And I do think that part of it is this movie, at the end of the day, the show is for kids, and some of the cartoonishy, like, comedic stuff just did not work for me. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow, bow. Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.